Welcome everybody, and welcome once again to another helping of Mr H's Hot Pot. You join myself, Mrs H, and little Toby James, who's just sat there in the pram, just taking it all in, aren't you? And Mrs H is on camera duty today, by the way, Hot Potters. It's a long time since you've been behind that, isn't it?
It does. It feels like forever since we've last been out doing this.
Yeah, well, it's certainly at least 50 days ago, isn't it, since we've last been out together as a family.
It is.
Now, before the lockdown was called, as some of you'll recall, who've been following my vlogs, or vlogs as Mr H likes to call them, we'd last come out as a family to St Anne's Beach. And we always said that once the lockdown was lifted or eased, as has been the case a few days ago, that we would return back to St Anne's Beach, and that's where we've come to today, isn't it, Mrs H? So we're back where we started, so to speak, before all this. Now, those of you who've been watching my vlogs, you'll recall that on day 34 I told you a story about this shell here, which is from this very beach. And little Toby James picked it up, didn't he, on that last time we was here?
He did, yeah.
And he carried it round with him all day, didn't he? We couldn't get it off him. And we kept trying to get it off him and throw it away, and he'd keep on picking it up. Anyway, when he eventually crashed and burned, I took it off him and I just slipped it in my pocket, thinking nothing of it. And I've been carrying this round with me for the past 50 or so days during lockdown. And I said on day 34 that I would bring this back to this particular beach, and we have done that, so I fulfilled that little promise. Even if, Gary Canning, I didn't capture that deer on camera. Anyway, joking aside, there's a little bit of a serious reason and purpose to this video, isn't there, Mrs H?
There is.
Which involves this little fella who's sat in the pram there. Now, Sunday night, just gone, which would be day 48 of my vlogs, we had a big scare, didn't we, Mrs H, with little Toby James? We had, yeah, it's all right, you laughing, mate. You know, you aged your dad by 10 years. And we had to face the thing that no parent ever wants to face, didn't we, Mrs H?
We did. We'd put him to bed as normal.
Yeah,
at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, as usual.
It didn't seem quite right, but it were okay. He just was very quiet, which is unusual for Toby. He's either fast asleep or shouting at us.
Yeah, it's one or the other, you know, it's 0 to 60 type of thing. So, anyway, we didn't think nothing of it. We went to bed at our normal time, 11 o'clock, didn't we, Mrs H?
We did.
Just got ready, just got in bed, and obviously we've got one of these little monitors as we can keep an eye on him. And obviously he's only in the next room, so you can hear him as well. And you just got a sixth sense, didn't you, Mrs H?
Yeah, I weren't happy with the way he was breathing.
And you know, you wouldn't go to sleep, would you?
No, I said I'll watch him for a bit.
So anyway, cut a long story short, he started making strange noises. You shot up out of bed, didn't you? Straight in there, and you found that he was like fitting a little bit, wasn't it?
Yeah, convulsing on the bed. He just like a little fish that had been pulled out of water. Bless him, he'd gone blue.
So straight away, you know, he shouted me. I jumped out of bed at this point because I could tell there was something wrong in the next room, and you just said, ring for an ambulance, which I did straight away. And no sooner I'd got my clothes on, you know, I'd got my trousers on and I'd put my t-shirt on back to front. They was there. I've got to hand it to them. They was there, wasn't there?
Yeah, I can't believe how fast the ambulance got there.
You know, and I mean, it all happens so quickly as well when it's going on, doesn't it?
It does.
But by the time we got the ambulance crew in, he'd come round a little bit.
Yeah, we'd managed to get him to breathe, well, to cry, which obviously is a good sign, because if they're crying, they're breathing.
But that unfortunately meant that they weren't happy with what had happened, so they wanted us to go to hospital with him, didn't they? They advised that, you know, so
blue lighted us, didn't they,
to our local hospital. The problem is with it is, at the back of your mind is this thing that, you know, the hospital is the last place you want to go to. Not just because, A, you don't want them going to hospital full stop, but B, with all this that's going on with this coronavirus, you knew that you was stepping into the belly of the beast, so to speak, with it. And we just, obviously, he was our main concern, so we just jumped in the ambulance. Well, you jumped in the ambulance, I followed up. We didn't take no hand sanitizer, we didn't take any masks, no protective gear, you know, just straight in there. And it was only afterwards, when things had calmed down a little bit, that you start thinking, perhaps this wasn't the best thing to do.
Yeah, pivot.
Now, what happens is, if you have to go into accident and emergency now, there's only one person allowed to go with you. So Mrs H went with little Toby, and I had to wait in the waiting room, which is difficult. Normally, both parents would be allowed to go with the child, but you can't do that now. And that's just the beginning of the changes that have took place down at accident and emergencies, isn't it, Mrs. H?
It is. There's a lot of the black and yellow tape at the telling you where you can and can't go.
Yeah, and there's a lot of red tape up as well, because they've got different zones now, which red zone is obviously, they treat that as the most potentially toxic area, that there could be people in who are infected. There's amber, and then there's green, which is obviously totally safe. And because we've gone into accident and emergency, that's classed as a red zone.
Yeah.
And they're all suited up though. They've got all the heavy PPE equipment on, which is quite daunting, isn't it, really?
It is. It's difficult as well to... You're obviously in a state of stress as the people that are being dealt with, and they're talking to you through muffled voices. You can hardly hear what's going on with all the beeps and things with machinery that they've got on, and it's...
well, the paediatrician that was dealing with us, I'll just give you an example of what he had to wear. He had to wear, obviously, a gown. He was wearing gloves. He had a mask on, and it's not just a little mask that you'd use for dust or anything like that. You're talking a mask and then got 2 filters on it. It's obviously some heavy kind of mask, that. I mean, I'm not well up on masks, there's different kinds, but, you know, and then he had a visor on top of that, and the poor bloke was sweating, wasn't he?
He was.
Because obviously kids, the tricky customers start off with, and he had to take bloods, didn't he?
Yeah, he only had to get a cannula in his hand, didn't he?
And it was just difficult, and obviously, and it's got to be scary for the kids as well when you come to think about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's daunting for us, but think about it, a kid here, all these masks coming up, and it just looked like they were suited up in there for a chemical spill, or if you've ever watched a science fiction film where you see doctors dealing with aliens, supposedly, it was that style of PPE equipment. So it is very real once you get in there. You know, when you're in isolation and you're in your own little bubble, it's very easy to lull yourself into a false sense of security that all this is just one big hoax. But when you go into an hospital, that's when you realise it's very real. I mean, there was a lift in there, and that's specifically for COVID-19 patients and theatre only. You nearly accidentally went into it, didn't you, when we was leaving?
Yeah.
And I said, no, can't go in that. And I used the stairs anyway, not touching anything. But what's worrying us now a little bit is that we went in and we hadn't got it. We knew we hadn't got it. I mean, they tested Toby for it, didn't they? While he was
They
in
did.
there.
It came back negative.
Terry, I know you're a nurse, and you've commented on a number of my vlogs, and you explained that you'd had the test. Well, he had exactly the same thing with the swab up his nose and at the back of his throat. And the worst part about it, it's not instant, is it, this test? It doesn't just tell you, they have to be sent away.
Yeah.
So you have to wait a day. Was it a day and a half to 2 days? You have to wait for results to come through.
Yeah.
And you and Toby were being treated as though you was toxic, wasn't you?
Yeah.
You know,
They were really good, though. The way that comes across is that they were keeping away from us. They weren't. They were absolutely fantastic, but they were putting fresh gloves on, fresh pinnies as soon as they walked into the room, depositing them on the way out. We weren't allowed out of the room.
It was because he had a temperature, you know. He was showing all the signs of it, sadly, you know.
Yeah.
But the worst part for myself was I was stuck at home, and Mrs H was at hospital with Toby, but I was stuck at home, so I'm just waiting at the end of a phone. And when you sent me a text and you said they're treating him as though he's got COVID-19, my heart sank, hot potters, I don't mind admitting, because we have done everything in our power to shield him from it. You know, we have treated it as though it's been real. And I know many people have said on my vlogs, you know, oh, don't worry about it, it's all just a government thing, etc. And as I've said in those vlogs, everyone is entitled to their own thought process, their own opinions, their own ideas. But I treated it as being very real for his sake. You know, it's one thing if you're a single bloke living on your own. You know, the only person who's going to suffer is yourself. But if you start doing things and going about being cavalier about things, it can have an impact on your family. And I'm just thankful that we had treated it like that. But we're now waiting, aren't we, Mrs H, for 2 weeks to be over from us leaving hospital to know that we've definitely
Yeah, we're definitely safe.
Because the worst case scenario is that we've picked it up whilst we've been in there, isn't it?
It is.
But hopefully that's not happened.
No, and if that's the way he deals with his temperature going above 40, I don't fancy seeing that again.
No, it's something I don't ever want to go through again, hot potters, I must admit. It was very, very scary, and it aged me 10 bloody years, I'll be honest with you. But it doesn't do for think about what potentially might be, or what you could have picked up in the hospital. You just have to put it to the back of your mind. But we've got an end point, haven't we now, Mrs H?
Yeah.
We can look at it and say, well, in 2 weeks' time, we're free of this. But think of the poor staff, the NHS staff who's going in, day out. There's no end to it for them. And you know yourself with what you overheard, not as you was listening into people's conversations, but staff talking amongst themselves. They're getting stressed with the situation, aren't they?
Yeah, well, we were put right next to nurses' station, so you could hear a lot of what was being said. And they're worried about it. They have been doing an absolutely fantastic job, but every day they go into there, they're putting themselves at risk.
Yeah, and they'll continue doing that until this thing comes to an end. But they can't do that and say, well, in 2 weeks' time, I'm clear. They can't do that. They've got to live with it day in, day out. So I really do take my hat off to people such as Terry, the nurse who's commented on a lot of these, and every other NHS staff. You know, we went out on Thursday, didn't we, Mrs H? And I've never clapped as hard in my life.
No.
You know, because they really deserve it. They really do. And I'm just thankful, you know, that they managed to sort him out, because it was a scary experience, and I don't think we've slept properly since, have we?
No, I don't think we will ever again.
Because it's one thing when you go into hospital, I should imagine, from your side of it, because I didn't spend any time in the hospital at night. But you knew that if something went wrong, all the staff are there, all the King's horses and all the King's men. But when you're at home, it's back to making your own call, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
But he's getting back to his old self. He's tormenting us, isn't he, a little bit?
Yeah.
Running his dad ragged and things like that, and I'm glad of it. The house seemed empty, you know, with AGT. You know what was ironic, though, Hot Potters? Right, he's not seen his dad properly for so many days. And who does he go running to? The dog. Not bothered about his old man.
No,
it was just
the
the dog. It's typical, isn't it?
Well, it's always the same with kids.
Yeah.
We're just glad to have him back and that they managed to sort it.
Yeah, but a big thanks to the NHS staff out there. You know, you are doing a fantastic job for the country. And it's easy for a lot of us because, like I said, we're all in our own little bubbles, being isolated, not to appreciate the NHS, but when chips are down and you need them, they are there, aren't they, Mrs H?
They are. Definitely needed them that night.
Yeah. It's an insurance policy, I think, that none of us hope we ever have to cash in. I think that's the best way to put it. Anyway, Mrs H, what do you think? Do you think we should get some fish and chips to celebrate returning back to
yeah, go on
St
then.
Anne's? Go on, and we'll deposit this shell on the beach and finally return it. I know one of you out there did say as it might be an idea sort of to put it on a little plinth or something like that, but we've got these videos to look back on it, haven't we? And I've got enough junk. I collect enough junk, don't I?
Oh, yeah.
All right then, folks, on that note, I think we'll leave it here. So, until the next time, when I hope you'll join me, and it will be that Fred Dibner video, I do promise you that. I know I said that would be the next time you'd see me, but with what has happened with Toby, now that he's out of the woods a little bit, we just thought we'd make this video mainly to thank our fantastic NHS. So, until the next time, when hopefully you'll join me again, it is bye-bye for now.